History often overlooks the grandeur of African, also known as black people. The history knows them as Nubians, later in history, Moorish Americans, and their contribution to the world. This ancient African civilization nestled along the Nile River. This is well to be known that African people lives began from around the Nile Valley and then expanded outward throughout the world. Nubia was a land of immense wealth and knowledge, a beacon of civilization in the ancient world, and even still practice unknown only to moderate African Americans' lives, where their culture was deeply hidden within Christianity. For political games amongst white supremacists, its people, skilled in trade, craftsmanship, and warfare and spirituality, left an indelible mark on history. They built magnificent cities adorned with towering pyramids and intricate spiritual temples. The Nubians were pioneers in various fields, contributing significantly to the development of mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and spirituality. Their influence extended to their northern neighbor, Egypt, which was the daughter of Nubia. Nubian pharaohs, like the legendary Taharqa, once ruled over a unified Egypt, and Nubia today. These are the people that we call African Americans' great heritage amongst humanity. They brought with them their unique customs, artistic traditions, and religious beliefs, enriching Egyptian culture. The intertwined history of these two civilizations challenges the Eurocentric narratives that often dominate historical discourse. Nubia's story is a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of the African people across the world, including the United States. It is a reminder of the vibrant civilizations that flourished on the continent long before colonialism cast its long shadow over Africa. The Nubians were keen observers of the natural world. Their knowledge of astronomy rivaled, and in some cases surpassed, that of other ancient civilizations. They meticulously charted the movements of celestial bodies, developing sophisticated calendars and astronomical charts. The Nubians were particularly adept at using the stars for navigation, crucial for their long-distance trade routes that spanned across Africa. Their understanding of mathematics was equally impressive. They developed complex geometric principles, evident in the precise alignment of their pyramids and temples. Evidence suggests that the Nubians possessed a deep understanding of fractions and ratios, further highlighting their advanced mathematical knowledge. Beyond astronomy and mathematics, the Nubians made significant strides in chemistry, medicine, spirituality. They were skilled metallurgists, mastering the art of ironworking centuries before it reached Europe. Their expertise in herbal medicine was renowned, with Nubian healers developing remedies and treatments that were sought after throughout the ancient world. The Nubian legacy of scientific and intellectual achievement challenges the traditional narrative of Africa as a continent devoid of significant contributions to human knowledge. Shaka Zulu, the legendary Zulu king, remains a figure of immense historical significance. Born into a tumultuous period in southern Africa, Shaka rose to power through his military prowess and strategic brilliance. He revolutionized traditional warfare, transforming the Zulu kingdom into a formidable force. His innovations in military tactics and organization had a profound impact on the region's political landscape. Shaka's military genius lay in his ability to adapt and innovate. He introduced the Iklewa, a short stabbing spear that replaced the traditional throwing spear, and the Isilangu, a larger, more effective cowhide shield. He reorganized his armies into age-based regiments, fostering discipline and unity among his warriors. These regiments, known as Amabuto, became the backbone of the Zulu military machine. Shaka's reign was marked by both expansion and consolidation. He united various Nguni-speaking clans under the Zulu banner, creating a powerful kingdom that stretched across much of southern Africa. His military campaigns, while instrumental in building the Zulu Empire, also led to widespread displacement and conflict. Shaka Zulu's reign coincided with the growing presence of European powers in southern Africa. The British, in particular, were eager to establish a foothold in the region, drawn by its strategic importance and resources. Shaka, initially wary of these newcomers, sought to maintain peaceful relations just as later time the Moorish in America did. He entered into a treaty with the British, hoping to secure his borders and foster trade. However, the treaty proved to be a double-edged sword. While it brought temporary peace, it also opened the door for further British encroachment. European settlers, emboldened by the treaty, began to encroach on Zulu lands, leading to tensions and skirmishes. Shaka's successors, facing increasing pressure from the expanding British Empire, found themselves drawn into conflicts that would ultimately culminate in the Anglo-Zulu War. Shaka's treaty, though intended to preserve Zulu sovereignty, inadvertently laid the groundwork for the eventual colonization of the Zulu kingdom. It serves as a tragic reminder of the complex dynamics between indigenous populations and encroaching colonial powers. The transatlantic slave trade stands as one of the darkest chapters in human history. For over 4 centuries, millions of Africans were forcibly transported across the Atlantic Ocean, victims of a cruel system driven by greed and exploitation. The Middle Passage, the harrowing journey from Africa to the Americas, was a testament to the depths of human cruelty. Ships, packed tightly with human cargo, became floating prisons. Men, women, and children were shackled together, denied basic human dignity. Disease, starvation, and despair were rampant. Those who survived the journey arrived in a foreign land, stripped of their freedom, spiritual practice, culture, customs, and their very identities. They were forced into a life of servitude, subjected to the brutality, mental, psychological enslavement justified through the Bible, and also through the Willie Lynch syndrome of the plantation system. The transatlantic slave trade made a psychological, devastating impact on Africa's children and its people. It decimated populations, fueled conflict, and destabilized entire regions. The psychological scars of this horrific trade continue to resonate through generations without them knowing the mental enslavement that was placed upon their minds with psychological warfare. A grim reminder that you can free their bodies, but by keeping power of self, you can still control their minds. The horrors of slavery extended far beyond physical brutality. The institution was meticulously designed to strip enslaved Africans of their cultural identity, their sense of self. Upon arrival in the Americas, Africans were separated from their families and communities, their names changed, their languages, spiritual practice forbidden. They were forced to adopt the customs and beliefs of their captors, a deliberate attempt to erase their African heritage. Children born into slavery grew up knowing nothing of their ancestral homelands, their rich cultural traditions lost. The systematic suppression of African culture served to dehumanize enslaved people, making it easier for slave owners to justify their cruelty with the Bible and the Willie Lynch syndrome. It created a profound sense of division, self-jealousy amongst African people, and no power to unify, alienation, and dispossession. A legacy that continues to affect African American communities today. Despite these efforts, enslaved Africans found ways to resist cultural erasure. They clung to fragments of their heritage, passing down stories, songs, and traditions in secret. There are African American people today that has cracked the code of their ancestors' hidden knowledge by going back deep into their forgotten hidden heritage. Due to modern days, it's forbidden to study research, or that's ever shameful due to the modern-day church. These groups are known as the conscious community, Nubian nation, even the Black Israelites, the Nation of Islam. Just as all black messengers came to liberate, they all suffered some form of crucifixion. Through the white supremacist, the war tactic of credibility, separation, divide, and then conquer. The conscious community acts of resistance, subtle yet powerful, help to preserve a sense of identity and community in the face of oppression. The abolition of slavery marked a pivotal moment in American history, but it did not erase the deep scars of racial injustice. And by keeping your knowledge hitting a self-racial injustice, still continues throughout the African American community. Knowing thyself or self-knowledge will be powerful enough to liberate all black people across the world alone. The 42 Laws Morality, also known as the 42 Laws of Ma'at. African Americans, newly emancipated, faced the daunting task of rebuilding their lives and forging a new identity in a nation still grappling with the legacy of slavery. The struggle for civil rights, for equality and recognition became a defining chapter in the African American experience. The period following emancipation was marked by both progress and setbacks. The Reconstruction era saw the passage of amendments granting citizenship and voting rights to African Americans. However, these gains were met with fierce resistance from white supremacists. Jim Crow laws enacted throughout the South enforced segregation and discrimination, denying African Americans basic freedoms. Despite these challenges, African American communities demonstrated remarkable resilience with the help of the messenger, the Black Panthers. Dr. Martin Luther King and also Malcolm X paid dearly with their lives. They built their own institutions, schools, churches, and businesses, creating spaces of refuge and empowerment. Black leaders emerged, advocating for social justice and equality, their voices growing louder with each passing generation. The fight for racial justice in America is far from over. While overt forms of racism have diminished, systemic racism continues to permeate institutions and policies, perpetuating inequality and injustice. From education and healthcare to housing and criminal justice, African Americans face disparities that are deeply rooted in the nation's history. The mass incarceration of black men, fueled by discriminatory policies like the war on drugs, has devastated communities and torn families apart. The persistent racial wealth gap, a direct result of historical and ongoing discrimination, limits opportunities and perpetuates cycles of poverty. These systemic barriers serve as a constant reminder of the unfinished work of achieving racial equality in America. Addressing systemic racism requires a fundamental shift in policies and practices. It demands acknowledging the ways in which history continues to shape the present, and a commitment to dismantling the structures that perpetuate inequality. The African continent is a vast and diverse tapestry of cultures, languages, and traditions. To speak of a singular African identity is to overlook the rich complexity of the continent's heritage. From the bustling marketplaces of Marrakesh to the ancient ruins of Great Zimbabwe, Africa is a continent of endless wonder and discovery. Exploring the diversity of African heritage is essential for understanding the multifaceted experiences of Black people around the world. It requires moving beyond simplistic narratives and engaging with the continent's history on its own terms. From the ancient empires of Mali and Songhai to the vibrant artistic traditions of the Yoruba and Ashanti people, there is much to learn and appreciate. Embracing the diversity of African heritage is not about erasing differences, but about recognizing the interconnectedness of Black experiences while celebrating the unique contributions of different cultures. It is about recognizing that Black identity is not monolithic, but rather a rich tapestry woven from a multitude of threads. Stories have the power to heal, to inspire, and to connect us to our past. For African Americans, reclaiming their narrative, sharing their stories on their own terms, is an essential part of healing from the trauma of slavery and oppression. It is about giving voice to the silenced, honoring the resilience of ancestors, and inspiring future generations. Through literature, music, art, and oral traditions, African Americans have kept their stories alive, passing down knowledge and experiences from one generation to the next. These narratives provide a counterpoint to the dominant narratives that have often sought to define Black identity in limited and stereotypical ways. By sharing their stories, African Americans are reclaiming their history, their culture, and their humanity. They are challenging stereotypes, dismantling prejudices, and building bridges of understanding. These narratives serve as a powerful reminder that Black history is American history, and that Black stories are essential to the fabric of American culture. The journey towards racial justice and equality is a collective one. It requires a commitment from individuals, communities, and institutions to dismantle systemic barriers and create a more just and equitable society. Building a future of unity and empowerment requires embracing the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion in all aspects of life. Education plays a vital role in this process. By incorporating diverse perspectives into curricula, fostering critical thinking about race and identity, and creating inclusive learning environments, we can equip future generations with the knowledge and skills to challenge injustice. It is also essential to support Black-owned businesses, invest in Black communities, and amplify Black voices in media and politics. By creating opportunities for economic empowerment, political representation, and social mobility, we can help to level the playing field and create a more just and equitable society for all people of all diversity, just by acknowledging and telling the truth of African people's legacy and contribution to the world, removing the veil of hidden knowledge of African people. For more content like this, subscribe and smash that button.